We continue now at the top of Daf Kufchav Beizam and Beizam Meseches Bava Basra. This is Bava Basra Daf 122b. On the previous Amud, the Gemara said that Yoshua and Kalev, they got their portions through Hashem, and it said that Yoshua got Timnas Serach, and the Gemara now notes Ksiv Serach u Ksiv Cheres. In one place it's written Serach, but in another place it's written Cheres. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rebbe Elazar says the reason why it's written in different fashions, B'tchila Peiroseh Cheres. Originally, its produce was like Cheres, was like clay. Ulevasov Peiroseha Masrichin, but in the end, its peiros, its fruits were spoiling. Now that actually means to say in a positive sense that they would ripen a lot to the point that they would spoil at the end. As the Rashbam over here explains, B'tchila Kodem Shabasal Yad Yehoshua, before Yehoshua got this land, Peiroseh Domen Lecheres, the produce was like clay, which means Yeveshin V'roim, it was dry and bad. Kecheres Hayavish B'lishuman, it's like clay that's dry, it didn't have any fat. Ulevasov, at the end, Kishabasal Yado, when he got the property, Peiroseh Masrichin, the fruits went bad, and again, this is a positive thing. Meirov Shamnan, the point is they would go bad because they were so fat. Kishemeshamerno son Yoser Midai, if you kept them too long, they would go back. Umal Yusahi, this is something that's good. Mishum Shuman, because of the fact that the fruits were fat. Uzachuso shel Yoshua Garam, the point is that the merit of Yoshua caused this to happen. And the Gemara continues, V'ika Diamri, there are those that say it's the opposite. Betchila Masrichin, originally before Yehoshua got the property, the fruits went bad. Ulevasov Kecheres, and at the end it was like clay. And in this understanding, Cheres is something that is positive. As the Rashbam explains, V'ika Diamri Betchila Peiroseh Masrichin Meirov Shamnan. Again, originally they went bad because they were very fat. V'lo hayu mishtamrin, and the point is they wouldn't keep. Ugreyusi, and that's a negative thing. Ulevasov Peiroseh Domen Lecheres, but in the end, the produce was like clay. Kilomar shelo hayu shmeinim yoser midai, meaning they weren't too fat. Ela b'mida, rather the proper amount. Sheyecholin lahachnisam la'otzer, you could put them in the storehouse. Umiskayim and tuva umal yusi, when they would last a long time, and that is something that is considered beneficial. And the Gemara continues, Kalev, we said above that Kalev got his portion through Hashem, Dechsiv, as it's written in the Pasuk, Vayitenu leKalev es Chevron kasher diber Moshe, they gave Kalev Chevron like Moshe spoke, Vayorish Misham as Shlosha b'nei Ha'anak, and he drove out from there the three sons of the giant. Chevron, and so the Gemara asks, Chevron Ir Miklat Havai, wasn't that an Ir Miklat that did not go to Kalev? And the Gemara answers, Amar Abaya says, Far V'roha, what we're referring to is the outskirts of Chevron, that's what went to Kalev. Dechsiv, as it's written in the Pasuk, Vestei Ho'ir, it says the fields of the city, Veschatzeira, the villages, Nasnu leKalev ben Yefuna b'Achuzah, so those were given to Kalev. And the Rashbam explains, Kasher diber Moshe, like Moshe spoke, Veheichon diber, now where did Moshe say this? Dechsiv, because it's written, V'lo eten es ha'aretz asher darach bo levanov, it says, I'm going to give him the land that he walked upon, V'zui Chevron, that refers to Chevron, Shedarach ba, that he walked upon that, Kededarshinan ba'agada, like we say in the Agadata, Vayavo at Chevron, it says that he came to Chevron, Melamid shenishtateach, Kalev al Ma'oras kivrei tzadikim shebechevron, he davened over the caves, over the burial places of the tzadikim in Chevron, V'isbalil sham lefnei hamakom, he davened there, Shiatzilo me'atzas meraglim, that he should be saved from the counsel of the spies, Shelo yikoshel b'hen imohen, that he shouldn't stumble with them. And the Rashbam continues, the Gemara then asked, Ir Miklat Havoi, wasn't Chevron and Ir Miklat, so it didn't go to Kalev, Kedechsib Yoshua, like it's written in Yoshua, V'levnei Aaron HaKohanim nosnu es Ir Miklat harotzeach es Chevron ves Migrasheh, it says that was given to the children of Aaron. And the Gemara answered, Far V'roha, what we're referring to is the outskirts, Kfarim, V'sados, that's the villages and the fields, Shesaviv loyer, that surround the city, Chutza l'migrash, outside of the city. Again, that was what was given to Kalev. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Echad haben v'echad habas benachala, both the son and the daughter are the same when it comes to inheritance. Elasha haben notel pishnayim b'nichsei ha'av, except that the son, he takes a double portion from the father's property. Ve'eno notel pishnayim b'nichsei ha'em, he does not take a double portion from his mother's property. V'habonos, and when it comes to the daughters, nizonos b'nichsei ha'av, they are supported from the father's property. Ve'eno nizonos b'nichsei ha'em, and they are not supported from the mother's property. And the Gemara will explain what this Mishnah means. The Gemara says, "My echad haben v'echad habas lenachla." What does it mean that the son and the daughter are the same when it comes to inheritance? Ilema diyarsi ki hadadi. If you're going to say that it means that they inherit together, that's not true. Hatzanan, but we learned in the Mishnah, ben kodem labas, that the son comes before the daughter. If there's a son and a daughter, it's the son that inherits. And kol yotze yerecho shel ben kodem labas, all of the descendants of the son, they come before the daughter. So that cannot be what the Mishnah means. And so the Gemara says, Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, Hachi kamar. This is what the Mishnah is saying. Echad haben v'echad habas, both of the son and the daughter, notlin beroi kivamuchzak, they can inherit inherit roy just like they inherit muchzak, meaning let's say it's property that the father wasn't actually in possession of, they're still able to inherit that property. But the Gemara continues, Hanami Tanina, but that also was already taught in the Mishnah. It said the benos tzlavchad, it said the daughters of tzlavchad, and natlu shlosha chalakim benachala. They took 3 portions of inheritance. Chelak avia and shahaya miyotze Mitzrayim. They took the portion of their father because he was one of those who left Mitzrayim. V'chelko im echav b'nechsei chefer. They also took his portion with his brothers in the property of Chefer. Chefer was the father of tzlavchad, and the idea over here is that even if Chefer outlived tzlavchad, still they would take that property. That would be considered a roy. That would be something that he was not actually in possession of, but still they would take that property. So you see, they do inherit by roy just like by muchzak. And the Gemara continues, V'yod, and further, my ella, even if you're going to say this is the explanation, that it means the son and the daughter are the same, that they take roy just like muchzak, but then how do you explain the rest of the Mishnah? The Mishnah goes on to say, except that a son takes a double portion from the father and not the mother, etc., that would have nothing to do with the beginning of the Mishnah. And so the Gemara continues, El Amar Papa, rather, Papa says, Hachi Kamar, this is actually what the Mishnah means to say. Echad haben v'echad habas notlin chelik bebechora, both the son and the daughter, they can both take the portion of the firstborn. Let's say their father had a firstborn portion, that double portion, that will go both to the son and the daughter. But the Gemara says, Hanami Tanina, but that also was taught in the Mishnah previously. It said, V'shahaya bechor notel shnei chalakim. It said that since tzlavchad was a bechor, he got a double portion, and that double portion went to his daughters, that went to the benos tzlavchad. V'yod, and further, my Ella, still we have a problem. What does the Mishnah mean when it goes on to say Ella? That would mean that the seif for the end of the Mishnah has nothing to do with the beginning of the Mishnah. And so the Gemara continues, Elamar Avashi, rather, Avashi says, Hachi Kamar, this is what it means to say. Echad ben habanim, whether you have a son among many sons, let's say there are only boys in the family. V'echad bas ben habanim, so let's say you have one daughter among many daughters, let's say it's only daughters in the family. Im amar yirash kol nechasai, let's say the father says, I want this particular son among the other sons, or this particular daughter among the other daughter, this son, this daughter should get all of the property. Devar of Kayam, and his words are going to be fulfilled, and that particular son or that particular daughter will get all of his property. But the Gemara continues, Command, but who would that follow? Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka, that would mean that our Mishnah is following Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka, Hakatani Lalakaman, but that's already taught later on. Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka says, Im Amar al Misha Roy Liyarsha, if somebody says about somebody who was fit to inherit, and he says this particular son or this particular daughter who was fit to already take from the inheritance, he says he wants them to take all of the property. So then Devar of Kayamin, so then we say that his words are fulfilled. Al Misha Eino Roy Liyarsha, but if he says that about somebody who wasn't standing to inherit him, Ein Devar of Kayamin, so then we say that the words are not fulfilled. So that would be exactly what Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka is saying. V'chiteimen, if you're going to say Kasasam Lon Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka, maybe the point of the Mishnah is to say that we hold like Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka, and that's why we're saying his opinion and we're not attributing it to anyone to show that that is the halacha. But the Gemara says, Stam v'yachrakach machlokasi, that would be a case of a Stam Mishnah that's followed by a machlokas, and actually the halacha would not be like that. Ustam v'yachrakach machlokas ain't halacha kastam. If you have a Stam that's followed by machlokas, we don't follow the Stam Mishnah, so it would make no sense to say that this Mishnah was recording Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka's opinion unattributed in order to say the halacha is like that, because that would actually indicate the halacha is not like that. V'yod, and further, my Ella, again, what are you going to do with the Ella? The end of the Mishnah would have nothing to do with the beginning of the Mishnah. And so the Gemara continues, Ella Amar Mar Baravashi, rather Mar Baravashi says, Hachi Kamar, this is what the Mishnah is saying. Echad haben v'echad habas, both the son and the daughter, shavin b'nichsei ha'em u'v'nichsei ha'av. They're the same when inheriting from the mother or when inheriting from the father. Ela shehaben notel pishnayim b'nichsei ha'av, except for the fact that a son will take a double portion from the father. Ve'eno notel pishnayim b'nichsei ha'em, he will not take a double portion from the mother. And the Mishnah also goes on to say that the daughters, when they're getting supported mizonos, they get that from the father and not from the mother. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabban, and the rabbis taught, Lases lo pishnayim, it talks about the double portion that a bechor gets. So pishnayim ke'echat, so it means that it's a double portion compared to one of the other sons. The Gemara says, Ata omer pishnayim ke'echad, you're saying he gets double compared to one of the sons. Oeinu ela pishnayim b'chol ha'nechasim, maybe he gets double in all of the property. Meaning, according to the second possibility, maybe the bechor gets 2/3 of the property, and everyone else gets 1/3, so he gets double corresponding to everything that everyone else inherits. And the Brisa continues, Vidinhu, this would be logical, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Kuf Chav Gimel Amud Aleph.